Oh, man. What a hell of a start with a cough, getting over a sinus infection. Can't even say, ah ha ha. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight. A Ruffino's rant with a little bit of twist. Zachy, we could make this more of a pep talk. We could make this more of a pep talk for LSU. LSU. It's interesting. The reason that football is so well loved is because on any given Saturday, you can go out there and win a game. Any given Saturday, when a team comes down to Death Valley, you can win the game. Can LSU pull it off this Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time in Baton Rouge in the midst of Death Valley? We will recap Auburn, LSU. We will also do an SEC recap. We will talk some Tennessee moving forward here tonight. We will. A lot of criticism, a lot of film breakdown was done Sunday and today. Carter the Power Bryant, who did a phenomenal job on his film breakdown, will be joining us live at 7:30. We'll talk about that with him. We'll do that SEC breakdown and the Saints struggle. So a pretty eventful night, as we do every single Monday, live on AYS. Okay. So it's gonna be fun. But I will tell you this. When you watch the Carter Bryant film breakdown, a lot of what I'm going to say tonight, you're not going to like unless you go watch it. You're not going to like it. A lot of things have to change offensively. A lot. I'll tell you the most things that need to be changed. But before we do that, we'll get to a couple comments before we get started. John Bellin says shared and liked. That's what I'm talking about, John. That's what I'm talking about. Bring it on, baby. Let's roll. Because I'm going to tell you tonight. It's coming. It's coming. Swamp Cat says, I've heard about all the JD excuses I can take. The dude can't pass. Okay. Not saying Nuss is the answer, but damn. See, the problem with what Swamp Cat just said is nobody's talking about the drops. Is it an excuse? Probably. Maybe. Swamp Cat, I don't disagree with you. I do not disagray with you. Watch the film breakdown that Carter Bryant did. Ryan Williams from the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com, says, bring on Tennessee. Fans need to be in full force. I'll be having Coors Light for breakfast. Well, the last time that Ryan Williams and I had Coors Light for breakfast, Jay Johnson brought his team to Hattiesburg and beat USM. The time we didn't have Coors for breakfast, they lost. I blame it that we didn't drink Coors at 8 a.m. That's what I believe. Austin Johnson says Tennessee Smoky Grays are fire. Are they wearing those this weekend? I think that they are. They can wipe their asses with it. Just telling you the truth. Andrew Paul's Hub Martin says slow starts will get us killed. That is the biggest comment of the show I've seen so far. Without question. Kevin Forche says on Facebook, anything over 6-6 is a success. My ceiling still stands at 9-3. Charlie Bennett says that intro, laughing my butt off. What's funny about it? Mark LaGrange says, did you notice in the press conference today how good a handle Kelly had on everything from strategy to execution to personnel to adjustment to competition? refreshing. Yeah, it definitely was not. It definitely was not a Ed Orgeron press conference, and none of them are. Jack Davis says Carter breaks down film better than the pros. I do agree. When I listen to Carter break down film, it is like listening to a college coach talk about it. It really is. And he's going to say things. He's going to say things that you don't like. But here's the truth. And I'm going to say this out of the break. The things that are said tonight are on film. Okay? So when you get mad, you go in the comments, you start yelling at me, you start calling me a Rudy Poo, which happens more frequently than not. The funny thing is the people that do that don't do it in the live shows. That's something that's interesting. However, the eye in the sky does not lie. There's a lot that has to be fixed. There's a lot that has to be fixed. Kenny Futch says, happy birthday to Tiger fan Stacey Thomas. Happy birthday to her. Happy birthday to you. Nick Rizzuto says, do you think number 7 checked out or is his draft stock dropping? I don't know if his draft stock is dropping. I do think there is a part of I think there's a part of that, him being a little checked out. Swamp Cat says, it's not Denbrock, damn it. The QB just stinks at passing the ball. Okay. He's completing 68% of his passes, and last week there was 9 drops from receivers. Swamp Cat, you can be mad. You can put the exclamation points. The eye in the sky does not lie. Dwayne also says, ask Blake, not ask, why do you keep talking about the drops when that's not even like that's 1% of the problem with Jane Daniels holding the ball to 6 to 7 seconds and taking a stack instead of running? That, Dwayne, buddy, you got to go watch the film. What you're saying is just not true. It's just not true. Zach, do me a favor. I posted on Twitter. We're going to do this out of the break. I posted on Twitter a link to the message board, okay? Go find it. We're going to share it inside the show. We cool with that? We got that? Go find that picture. I'm going to show you one of them. Tyree Love sends $4.99 via Super Chat. Last one, then we'll get to the break. Says Daniels is not a bad passer. He's mentally struggling. Bingo. With playing a perfect game. Bingo. Game instead of just going out there to ball. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Bingo. Guys, it's a whole offensive issue. It makes, guys, so let me tell you this. If I came out here and ripped the dog manure out of Jane Daniels, you would be praising the shit out of me. It's not true. Garrett Nussmeier came in and did some really good things. Why didn't they work? Let me tell you why they didn't work. They did not work because they had drop passes. It's the same concept. Take out JD. Take out Jaden. What happened with Garrett Nussmeier? Because the truth is, Garrett put it on the money. Garrett put it on the money. You can complain about that all you want. It's the truth. All right. Let's get to this. Let's get to the break. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag and our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons. Everybody stop, collaborate, and listen. Do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all of those Facebook groups. If you're listening to us on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Share to your social media pages as well. If you're listening to us on XM Radio, TuneIn app, or wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, subscribe, and all that good stuff as well. Also, I put a recruiting tidbit and some things of watching Carter's film breakdown that you may like on the forum, ayssnetwork.com. That's ayssnetwork.com. All right, Zach, let's do this. Let's talk about our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, we return in 1 minute and 15 seconds. We recap Auburn next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varnado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varnado & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them you get a friend, Blake Ruffino. Sit you on by. I will give a Ruffino's rants here to start off, but I wanted to give this. This is what I was just talking about. Okay, so look at this coverage. Now, you can't see my screen and or where my arrow's pointed, but look at the AU of Auburn University. So Jaden looks left to a covered receiver, okay? What he did on this play is he went boom to the far right to Jeray Jenkins. Then he went to Mason Taylor, both of them being covered. And this is just one example of what we're going to talk about tonight. The reason he did not throw to Kayshawn here was he pump faked Kayshawn to see if this back safety, so if you see the goalpost and you look down, and I apologize to the audio podcast listeners, but I'm just going to have to do this. If you see right below the goalpost, he was trying to draw the safety, the other safety down to Kayshawn to get a one-on-one with Malik on the outside. This is what we do when we break down film. This is what we do. Why is he running the ball here? Why does he run the ball in this gap through the middle? The reason he runs it is the safety is going to come down to Kayshawn. You have a bracket coverage on the far left, and the two receivers on the far right are covered. That is what I'm talking about when I say that is what we do on the film breakdown. Okay, so let's talk about it. Everybody stop, collaborate, and listen, and hit the like and share. Bottom line, and I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to this. Okay? Jaden has to get better at multiple things. There's not an argument from me on what he's got to do better. One thing that he has to do better, he's got to stop being so conservative of getting the ball down the field. That I completely agree. Brian Kelly talked about that today. We talked about that at deep lengths in the postgame show. He's got to throw the ball down the field. I can live with an interception if you have one-on-one coverage like we saw with Kayshawn multiple times throughout the game. You have to let it rip unless he is being told something else. Now, if he's being told something else, we don't know that, or at least I don't know that. That's number one. Number two, he's got to be more confident in the system. I've been thinking all weekend, why doesn't he have trust with his receivers? Why doesn't he have trust with X, Y, and Z? Can you maybe close out and get back in? All right, somebody said that they couldn't hear. Maybe you want to close and get back in. Yeah, restart the app, come back and get back in. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Zach, we're good on your end? All right. The bottom line is JD I don't feel as if he has confidence in the play, all of the play calls that are being called. Although I believe that Mike Denbrock is scheming up some really good stuff. Guys, let me throw this your way. Let me just throw this your way. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Take the quarterback out. let me say this, take Jaden Daniels out. If I came out here right now and I told you that a quarterback had 20 passes in a game, 6 of them were drops, what would you say? Then what if I told you that the backup quarterback came in and he threw 6 more passes and 2 to maybe 3 of those passes were dropped? What would you say? What would you say? Because you can come in here and say all that you want, that Jaden sucks, that Garrett sucks, that they're not good. That's honestly a lazy take. It is what it is. I've asked you multiple times today. I said that Carter would do it on Saturday, and I will continue to say it. You have to go watch the film breakdown, because it's comments like this, Anthony Jennings 2.0, that's so idiotic and not true. Anthony Jennings was a 44% passer at LSU. Jaden Daniels is at 68%. Mason Taylor dropping 3 passes, 2 of them coming on critical third downs. John Emery dropping a pass on a critical third down. Who do you blame that on? Now, you can say I'm defending JD5, and you could say I'm an apologist. It is what it is. I'm here for it. The truth is, multiple things can and is true in this. He's got to let the bitch rip. He's got to let it rip. Multiple things are true here. If you got one-on-one coverage with Kayshon Boutte, let that son of a gun rip. Bottom line. If I'm Mike Denbrock, I'm coming to Jaden and saying, give me your favorite 20 plays in this playbook. Guys, with all due respect, Mississippi State runs the same 7 plays over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it works. You had Joe Burrow doing an interview in the AFC Championship game. He goes, guys, we ran 12 plays. I have different formations. If those are the plays that you like, run them for him. Again, multiple things can be true at once. I thought that Emory Jones and Will Campbell at times held their own. I also believe there were times in critical situations that they did not do so well. They held their own, though. Auburn was doing some very exotic things. Guys, did you know that they put their defensive end in the middle of the field? And right before the snap, he would run up into the middle of the field where the linebackers are usually hanging out, and they would still rush 4. And Papo, number 29, I believe, would spy Jaden Daniels. Very goofy look, very exotic. It does not excuse Jaden on some of the passes that he missed. It also doesn't excuse the drops. It simply doesn't. The truth is, you have multiple things that are bad going on this offense. It's not just one thing. Guys, it's never just one thing. And girls, it's never just one thing. Because even if, and this isn't a great stat, but it's a stat. Even if you cut Jaden Daniels' drops that he had from his receivers, and which would have been 3, he's still 11 for 20. I wish all of those 3 would have came on third down. I wish those 3 would have came at third down. What nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. You have quarterbacks across the league when they're with a new head coach and a new system that struggle. Do they not? Or are you not a Saints fan? Although it may be the same system, why is Jameis having issues? Well, Blake, his O-line sucks. They do suck. They do suck. He's got more wide receivers he knows what to do with. What's wrong with the offense? What's wrong with the offense? My point being, there are multiple things going on here. You can love Jaden Daniels. You can dislike Jaden Daniels. It doesn't matter to me what your opinion is. The facts are the facts, and they remain the same. The facts are the facts, and they remain the same. Now, I'll see this from Danny Snow. And he says, without the drops, Nuss would have been 4 of 6. That's also a part of this. So the reason why I'm giving Jaden, although there are some passes he has no slack on, some of them are not in great places. Yes. He's got to set his feet. Guys, he's got to set his feet and let it rip. I will admit that. Because the eye in the sky is not lying there. But I have yet to see anybody coming in here and saying what the issue was with Garrett Nussmeier. Why did he go 2 for 6? Why did he go 2 for 6? Because the same issues were happening. I will tell you this. I don't believe it's going to happen this Saturday. Now, to go on to the defense or more, because we spend so much time on Jaden. Guys, we literally in the postgame show spent an hour on Jaden damn near. Damn near an hour. There are some good things that you still did. Guys, you ran for over 190 or right at 195 net rushing yards. Guys, if you rush for 200 yards in any SEC game, Auburn may be bad. What they're not bad is their defensive line and linebackers. That is an accomplishment. Now, Auburn may be bad, but they did beat a Missouri team who went toe-to-toe with Georgia the following week, this past weekend. Now, transitive property isn't always the best measuring stick of how to do things. But I will tell you this. I think there are times that we just sit here and say, oh, this team lost. Oh, they're ass. That is probably one of the worst takes you can have. This offensive line, in my opinion, had a good game. But when it came to crunch time, they clapped cheeks. That's the truth. Let me tell you this. I will take 200 or 195 rushing yards the rest of the way and every single game moving forward if it dictates a win. But I do not what is a little bit crazy is it seems to me that there is a little bit more constructive criticism on this offense this year than maybe some last. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's recency biased. I don't know what it is. Maybe because they were throwing for 300 yards a game. Did you know that LSU was 15th in passing yards a season ago? They still went 6-7. A win is a win. There are sometimes you have to be lucky better than good. And I'm going to take the win. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Defensively, guys, you're top 10 defense trending. You're a top 10 defense trending. This weekend, you have arguably the best offense you're going to see all season long. You have arguably the hottest quarterback, and pause, not from looks, but you have the hottest quarterback when it comes to quarterback stats in the country playing against the toughest competition. Hendon Hooker, who is Tennessee's quarterback, has in all of his starts, not career at Tennessee, but in his starts at Tennessee, guys, he's thrown 45 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The game will be won and lost on how your defense performs and if they can not just stop, but contain Tennessee. It's of my opinion that LSU's offense gets moving this weekend at home. It's of my opinion that you can do some things defensively that Hendon Hooker hasn't seen. Because I'm buying at the current moment, I am buying what Matt House is selling. There's one thing that I will believe, or do believe, is I believe that Brian Kelly was right, and he is right. If you go 8 of 20 with 80 yards passing, you're going to get beat down this Saturday. I don't think that they're going to do that. Actually, I'll place a bet right now. Zach, do you want to make a quick bet, and you don't have to lose anything? If LSU doesn't go better than 8 of 20 passing for 80 yards against Tennessee, I'll shave my beard. Live on, well, not live. Maybe I'll record it and then post it. How about that? How about that? And if they don't do better than 8 for 20 for 80 yards, everybody on that next Monday or the postgame show has to share their show to their social media pages. How about that? I will shave this raggedy beard if LSU doesn't go better passing-wise, 8 for 20 of 80 yards. I still am going to keep a little bit of faith from some things that I saw. I still believe Jane Daniels can do some good things. However, I think LSU fans need to be a little bit more realistic. I think you need to be a little bit more realistic. What do you expect this season to be? Anthony B. Saints, by the way, says, yeah, and we all know how Zach pays on his bets. Yeah, Zach did not honor his bet. He did not. That is true. He was supposed to shave his goatee. He got so scared he called me. Oh, dear God, Mr. Blank, please don't let me shave the tickler. That's what he called it. I don't even know what that means. What is a tickler on your face? Defense has to have a big game this upcoming Saturday. It is what it is. Now, I will tell you this, and this is not necessarily a Rufino's rant. And Zach, you can start starring some of these comments, and we'll get to them about 2 minutes before Carter Bryant joins us. Let me get to this. You can beat Tennessee Saturday. LSU opens up a 3.5-point dog at home to Tennessee, the number 8 team in the country. To everybody that's on that team, to the coaching staff that's on that team, or that's on that team, to the athletic trainers, to the front office staff, no one is believing after what we saw against Auburn that LSU can beat Tennessee at home. But here's the thing. LSU fans have to pack out the stadium at 11 a.m. It's not what you want to do. I understand it's not what you want to do, but if you want LSU to have success and win, you got to pack that thing out. You got to be there at 11 a.m. sharp, making sure that your Tigers has the best opportunity to go out there and win against a top 10 team, because there's so many things on the line that LSU can have in this season. Guys, it's still wide open. The undefeated teams in the SEC West, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU. There's still so much in front of you that you have to go do. But to the players, no one is believing in you outside of you. Now, if you were here in the very beginning of the show, I played a clip from Coach Prost. You got all the ridicule that LSU football is taking right now. All the ridicule you took. All the ridicule you took after going 8 of 20 in the passing game for 80 yards. Go out there and whip somebody's ass. Be more man than them. You want a pun? Here's the pun. Have the eye of the tiger. Glubber Lang walks up to you and stares you in the face down. You tell him to go for it, because you can do it. That team, Tennessee, coming into Death Valley, you can beat them. I know my buddy Carter has them winning the East. If they come in here and you play disciplined, sound, fundamental football, you just let that bitch rip. You can beat those Rudy Poos from Knoxville. You can do it. Don't listen to the outside noise. Don't listen to what Kirk Herbstreit's got to say. Don't listen to what I got to say. Carter's got to say. Any media member that's out here that covers LSU or Tennessee, don't listen to a damn one of them. You go out there and you kick somebody's ass. Because the truth of all of this is you got to utilize what you have. Harold Perkins, BJ Ojolari, get Keishon Boutte involved. Get Jack Besh involved. Run down on kickoff on the opening kick and knock somebody's fucking teeth out. They don't believe in you. They don't believe in you. As the great movie Remember the Titans said, as they said and Remember the Titans said, I forget the coach's name, I don't want them to gain another yard. You go out there wanting to knock somebody's teeth into their mouth. You play sound discipline football against Tennessee, you're going to win. Everybody's going to call me a blithering fool. You already do. But this game to me, in my gut, tells me and feels like LSU Georgia 2018. Quarterback struggling offensively. He can't throw for 50% completion percentage. You beat him by 30. That Georgia team was more talented than this Tennessee team, in my opinion. Offensively, not really. Not even close. All right. You want a pep talk? You want a Ruffino's rants? There you go. You make them remember that team has not played in the atmosphere like they will play on Saturday morning. They haven't. All right. We beat Georgia by 15. No shit. All right, let's get to Carter Power the Bryant. Let's talk about our good friends over at Grahamco, thegrahamco.com. Be back in 30 with Carter Bryant. You're not going to like what he says, I don't think, but the eye in the sky doesn't lie. Next. Guys, I've got to talk to you about our good friends over at Grahamco. They are the Delta 8 company based out of the state of Florida. They're founded by college football junkies just like you and I am not sure if you're familiar with Delta 8, but you need to be. Grahamco is the absolute leader in this field, and they have phenomenal products that I just need to tell you about. First off is the Wake and Bake coffee that is absolutely spectacular. The gummies are as well, as they're the best in the market. So go to thegrahamco.com right now and use the promo code AYS25. That's thegrahamco.com, AYS25 promo code to get 25% off of your order. Jump on this fast as it is perfect for holidays, anniversaries, and everyday use. Grahamco is hemp-derived and completely legal inside of the state of Louisiana. No medical card is needed, and shipping is very discreet. You must be 21 years older to order. Again, that's thegrahamco.com. Use that promo code AYS25. He's back, baby, like he never left. Carter, your East winning Tennessee Vols are going down Saturday.
I hope.
Blithering fool. I don't know how much I believe in myself, but nevertheless, Carter, how are you?
Man, I'm world class, Blake. I truth be told, I don't want Tennessee to win the East because obviously, this game's big for them if they want to do that. But, for me, they're a really good football team with a really exciting offense. Their team kind of looks like how I thought they would going into the year. And I saw you tweeting about Hendon Hooker a little bit earlier. Obviously, this is a 100. He's good. Oh, he's due for a pick. He's due for a Harold Perkins pick 6. I love it. 2 of them. Not one, but 2 of them.
Here's the thing. Okay, about Hendon Hooker. He still turned the football over a couple of times. So the interceptions, yes. He has a perplexity of fumbling the football inside the pocket. Okay, he fumbled against Florida look, they can be beat, Carter. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is an extremely flawed team, right? AD's a good receiver for them. Obviously, Cedric Tillman is going to be
Out.
very key.
He's out.
He's like you say, he's out. So, you take him out, but you still have Brew McCoy, who's a good player, 15 from USC, and Hyatt, 11 for them. Obviously, the health of all those people, we'll see. And them coming off a bye week is going to be key. But what's really interesting, Blake, is I think a lot of people, when they think of like modern day spread offenses, they think of the pass. But these teams are better when they're running, right? Ole Miss is a run-based offense. Now, Tennessee obviously is a little bit more aired out than, let's say, Ole Miss, but they are really good at running the football and creating numerical advantages. And that's going to be the key thing, right? Brian Kelly individually mentioned how great Jaquelin Roy played this past weekend, how consistent Wingo's been. He's been a lot better than I thought he'd be in this year one for him at LSU. And if those two guys have big games and we can defend their box with a light amount of people, as in 5, 6, sometimes 7 guys, then we should be pretty good or better than most going up against this Tennessee offense.
So let's do this. And it was my fault for going to Tennessee first.
That's fine, man.
But to beat Tennessee, we also have to know what LSU is coming off of. Now, a lot of people will hear this and say, offense looks horrible. They're trash. They don't have a rhythm. They're not good. They don't have an identity. Some of it is rightly criticized. But I watched your film breakdown today, okay? And I got to say, I was more shocked at the amount of drops. And I talked about it a lot on Saturday, but some of them just being so blatant from both quarterbacks, JD and Garrett alike. Carter, when you were breaking down this offense this past week against Auburn, what were some of your biggest concerns?
Yeah, so this was the first road game, right? I do think, and you really have to look really closely at this, the receivers really struggled with the turf. Especially Malik, he tripped a few times on the grass. Getting in and out of breaks were a little bit of an issue. I wouldn't overreact to that. The turf was really thick, if you will. I'm not a grass expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it was an interesting playing surface. So I thought that was something that was just a little thing to keep in mind. This was, the first time playing a true road game.
First time out of the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, and then the second thing here, and I don't want anyone to just go crazy about this because I've raved about these two young men individually for weeks on your channel, weeks on my channel. This was the first game where Will and Emory Jones, Will since Florida State, but Emory Jones had some issues against their bull rush. That's expected. They're true freshmen. You're playing against adults. This is the first time where you can't fully hear the snap count. That was expected. That was something I brought up in my previews because the bull rushing from their ends are thicker players. We had a lot of issues with that. Yeah, they're good. Auburn's front is really good. So the offensive line, Blake, had their worst game pretty clearly since the first game versus Florida State. Now, it wasn't as bad as it was versus Florida State, but it still had its issues. But ultimately, the drops are bad. Don't get it twisted. And I felt like Brian Kelly, it's rare when the head coach says exactly what should be said. I do think, and most people, I would say probably 90% of the people watching this did listen to the clip. Brian Kelly didn't hold back. Like he said specifically exactly what needed to be said, right? The balls weren't perfectly thrown. They could have been caught. But at the same time, the catchers weren't, receiving perfectly thrown balls. The protections, there were some rough moments with that. The play calling, I think, is going to get a reevaluation. So I think all of those things married together to what was a historically bad LSU passing attack. You honestly, and once again, I'm saying the same stuff that Brian Kelly said earlier, but anyone that's watched me know that I'm not always going to say what the head coach says. He's right, though, in saying, yeah, we should be happy that we beat Auburn. And yes, Auburn is always a weird game. And yes, they're playing for a coach that they know is going to get fired. But at the same time, you hear this word all the time, Blake, in the coaching world: process, process, process. Well, if you are a process-based person, that means the result on Saturday, while you could be happy about it, wasn't just, if you will. They averaged over 6 yards per play, which honestly is really good. We averaged less than 4, which is really bad, and we still won the game. You look at Bill Connolly. Brody Miller tweeted this out earlier. If you look at all the pregame metrics, according to Bill Connolly's model, LSU, the average team in that situation, wins 8% of the time. 8% of the time. So we were very lucky to come out of there with the victory. And honestly, Blake, it came down to just the superhuman defensive plays made by Harold Perkins, Baskerville, Ojolari, and of course the best defensive play I can remember in over these past couple of years made by Greg Brooks.
I agree with everything that you said. A lot of the things, Carter. Here was the biggest thing for me. Because we talk off air a lot.
Yeah.
The number one stat that I go to is third down efficiency. And when you have 6 drops from Jaden, 4 of them on third down, that will make or break you as a team. If you can't stay on the field and get yards to get into the red zone, at least for a field goal, you are going to get beat. The 4 turnovers completely help them. So I will ask you this. Tennessee provides a whole bunch of I just say complications for your defense.
Right.
If LSU is to win, how would they do it?
It's a good question, Blake. The first thing is obviously, I think defensively, they just stick with what they're doing, because at the same time, Tennessee has not played a defense like LSU's. LSU is playing at an extremely high level defensively. I know quite a few people in the Arkansas media circles. They are shocked that Greg Brooks is playing this good.
Yeah, I talked to Ty Richardson. I know that
Ty.
You know Ty. He said the same thing today.
Yeah, Ty's a really good friend of mine. And, just people, going into it was like, hey, Greg Brooks was like, okay for us. Well, he'd be by far their best member of the secondary right now. They have the worst secondary in the SEC right now. I think that's been a little bit of a shock for me, Blake. I was a little bit higher on the secondary going into this year and a little bit more skeptical on the defensive line going into this year. But even though I was high on the secondary going into the year, I did not think that they would be this freaking good. They are really playing at a high level right now. Gardner, Converse, all of them. But you look at those matchups, a lot of those were against wide receiver groupings. If let's be honest, if Coy Moore's your best receiver, it says a lot about your receiving core, right? And
wide receiver in LSU last year.
Yeah, well, he was. And honestly, he was arguably LSU's best quarterback on Saturday as well. With that,
he was a player of the game.
Hey, he threw a dart to Harold Perkins, man.
He did. He did.
But truth be told, the secondary is playing a lot better than anyone could have expected up to this point. They're going to give Tennessee issues if they continue to play like this, right? So we'll see. I mean, I also think Harold Perkins just being added to the defense is giving a lot of offenses a lot of issues. But this is what's going to be very key in this game, where, Greg Penn is starting to play a little bit better. What Tennessee does is they spread their wide receivers really wide.
Outside the numbers.
So why do you do that? Well, it just creates that extra space for linebackers to have to fill. So, yeah, that's going to be the key. Can LSU defend their running game with, LSU's front? And it's going to be a big Jaquelin Roy game. He was so huge for LSU in this last game versus Auburn. It's going to be very key to continue that. And, you flip to the other side of the football, Blake, which obviously is the more important side of the football. Can you just get anything going in through the air? There's a lot of different moving parts here as to why it looked as clunky. But I do have a few ideas that I think LSU is going to try over the next couple of weeks.
I'm going to leave that to last because I think your sourcing and my sourcing are aligning. I'm going to let you talk about that, but I do want to get to this. Carter, why are they starting off so slow offensively?
Some of it's penalties, but honestly, there were no penalties at the start of like this one, right? Outside of the Josh Williams cut block.
Which, by the way, my God.
Yeah, that was bad.
I mean, it was bad. Carter, it was worse than bad. Josh is leaving his feet while the defender is then going down.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. The way Josh played, I'll take it. All right?
I'll take it too.
Yeah, Williams was beyond his my own expectations of him. For me, Blake, I think offensively, part of the slow start stuff obviously is the drops that obviously needs to get fixed. We can have a debate about the first Mason Taylor drop. It was a wobbler coming out of Jaden's arm. It wasn't the best thrown football, but it's a dig. You got to lead him, right? And the thing about throwing over the middle on a route like that, you also have the umpire. So, then that wasn't his first progression either. So you got to give Jaden a little bit of a leeway there. That's part of it, Blake. I also think part of it is the offensive line for LSU sometimes takes a while to get settled. And it did take a while to get settled on the road versus Auburn this past weekend. So, hopefully that gets cleaned up. But I also think this is just my personal thought process on this. And I'm not just saying this just to say it, okay? I really do think that they need to contemplate playing Jack at tight end in some passing situations, right? And run what I like to call 10.5 personnel, right? It's not
right.
It's not truly 11 because Jack's not truly a tight end, but he played some tight end last year and give him those reps because it also gives Mason Taylor a break. There's a lot on this young man's shoulders playing a very difficult position, which is tight end. Rookie tight ends in the NFL are historically terrible. True freshman tight ends, not named Brock Bowers, are normally not, transcendent. So I would like to see Jack potentially get some of those reps, especially on clear passing situations.
I wouldn't even label it as tight end in reference to this. We all know at this point the screen when the tight end or Mason Taylor goes in the flat, they do a zone read RPO off of it. We saw them do that in the spring game. I talked about that play 1,000 times during the offseason. Put Jack there.
Yeah.
Put somebody there. For crying out loud, put Kayshawn. Because the truth is you don't need a tight end there because technically you're in 12 personnel if you want to label that way, because the end down lineman or end down receiver is usually another tight end on the opposite side when you're motioning Taylor into that progression. I agree with you. You got to find Carter. Here's my thing. My biggest two complaints. Number one, I am okay with Jaden not how do I want to say this? Because it's going to come off wrong. At some point, you just got to let that son of a gun rip.
That's it.
And I think he's too timid right now. But here's my biggest thing, and I wonder if you get this feel. Do you feel like he just doesn't trust a lot of guys at that position right now?
As in Jaden doesn't trust the receivers?
Yeah, because Carter, the truth is I do think that there are some tight windows and some tight windows we've seen him throw in. It just feels to me that he doesn't trust them at the current moment. That is how I perceive it. Now, here's another thing, too. The people who say he's a one progression quarterback and then he runs, it's not even remotely true. But it just feels as if that there's something holding him back from letting it rip. What do you think it is for him? What's holding him back, in your opinion, from letting it rip?
I will say this, Blake. Yes, it was the New Mexico game. This is what excited me about Jaden going into Auburn, though, is that he did, right? He went through a lot of progressions. He didn't really force the football into anybody. He had that throw that Brian Kelly raved about on his fourth progression to Jure deep over the middle. What I think potentially happened this past game is that he got a little spooked. It was your first true road game. And, you always hear this, don't turn it over, don't turn it over, don't turn it over. And I do believe he still had 0% turnover worthy plays, as in he's not thrown a football that has been turnover worthy at all, which is good and bad. You want to take some chances, which is what Brian Kelly was saying in this game. I also think, as poorly as Jaden could be throwing the football, and the 5 yards in the second half is just, truly inexcusable. What I think people fail to realize is his running is so special. He breaks so many tackles. He is currently second in the SEC according to rushing EPA per play, as in anybody.
I saw that. That's insane.
It's
Rocket
insane.
Sanders is number 1, correct, from Arkansas?
Yes. So he's amazing. When he actually does run, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? The ball's not going to get dropped. The ball's not going to get turned over. He doesn't fumble. Him running isn't the worst thing in the world, but him missing a lot of throws and the drops on top of it, once again, it's everybody all together, is an issue. Now, the play calling is where it gets very interesting, right? What I see that's fascinating that LSU is also missing right now, and Blake, I like Mike Denbrock's play calling. I do feel the offense is a little too Desmond Ritter-ish.
And not more Jane Daniels-esque.
Yeah, I feel
like stuff is what you're hitting at.
They hit Malik on an RPO. They didn't really do that. They missed BTJ on one earlier where Jaden sailed him, where it was a clear miscommunication between him and the receiver.
Then, Carter, I even on the Brian Thomas miss that I didn't even count as a drop. Okay, he's blocking downfield, and I then went back and agreed with you. He's trying to get separation, but separation on an RPO and a quick slant.
Yeah, you should just go. Normally,
you should just go. That is Carter. That is my point. When you break down the film and the receiver's running the wrong route or not the route. So, for example, on the RPO, Jaden set his feet and is waiting. And I go back and watch your copy of the film breakdown. Brian Kelly is losing his mind at Brian Thomas to turn around.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the small things that drive me insane.
Yeah.
Quick slants.
Yeah. I would just do a lot of quick stuff. Honestly, though, Blake, this was something else. This was a big concern for me, is that Auburn did play a little bit more aggressively defensively with a lot of one high coverages, right? So
putting a defensive end in the middle of the field as a third safety to then run down.
Yeah, so they did play off, but there were some opportunities to hit shots over the top. And we just didn't hit them, or we just didn't see them for whatever it's worth. I do think one thing, though, and you see this with other play callers in the SEC, and hopefully we see more of this. I would like some simpler schemes getting guys open at some point, right? And I see Lane Kiffin drop Y cross every game, and it works. I have no idea how he does it. He does it. I see Kendall Briles schemed a lot of things open for his players. I do think some simpler stuff will help out this LSU passing offense just to get it going. But I cannot stress this enough, Blake. The wide receivers for LSU versus Auburn had an uncharacteristically bad game. When it comes to separation, when it comes to getting out of their breaks, when it comes to drops, whatever the reason was, I was just kind of shocked at how well Auburn's guys on the outside, took care of our guys. So, a lot of this is on Jaden. A lot of this is just on everybody on the offensive side. But there was something good, right? The position group that I've been really hard on is the running backs.
And they've been your best so far, brother.
They especially versus Auburn. And as Brian Kelly brought up, and if you go to the film review, John Emery's fumble was bad. It is the second straight game he had a fourth quarter fumble. But when two offensive linemen are pulling and colliding in front of you, it spooks you. That rarely happens.
It never happens.
And there was a guy coming off the edge. He got spooked. It he shouldn't have fumbled. You just got to eat it and just end the play. But kind of scared him. And outside of that, and John Emery had a drop as well in the passing game.
A critical drop, though. It's a critical drop.
It was a critical drop, but he broke a lot of tackles.
He did.
And made a lot of crap happen for LSU.
Tried to leap a man.
Tried to leap. I had a few negatively, graded plays for John to drop and a few other things, but that was huge for his confidence, and that really showed me something. And hopefully, that helps him build his confidence moving forward.
He can't leap from the 5 again or
that
the 4.
Bad.
Okay,
that was really bad.
If he makes one cut, the tight ends, for what it's worth, obliterated Auburn up front. It's a walk-in.
Yeah.
Let's get to this comment because you're talking about the running backs, and then a couple more I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Black Goatee on YouTube sends us $5 via Super Chat. He says, "What's up, Blake and Carter? How about us showing some love for Josh Williams banging it hard up the middle versus Auburn?" We did talk about that, but he says pause. Look, here's my thing, Carter, and I talk to you this religiously, and I know that me and you have gone back and forth on this. If he gets you 4 yards a rush, 2 or 3 of those yards he's getting on his own. He's never going to give up. To me, he sets a tone in that room.
Right. Can I say something really quickly about Black Goatee?
Sure.
So I don't know how this happened. Okay. So I didn't know about the Coy Moore interview at all. Like, he sent me, so this was like early last week. So he sent me the link and he was like, "Hey, did you see the stuff that Coy Moore said about Kayshawn?" And I
to me too, and I kind of ignored it a little.
I ignored it, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, and so we talked again, and he sent it to me again, and I did, a live stream talking about it, and then Mikey Mattock was the one that tweeted out the clip. So let's be. I will say this: Black Goatee might have been the genesis of this whole thing. I don't know who the first LSU fan was, but Black Goatee might deserve a little bit of credit because Coy Moore was in his head. Coy Moore was in his own head saying, "Okay, I got to go out there and go win it," and he made the 2 critical mistakes that won us the game. So I just wanted to give Black Goatee some credit. He's a good
Black Goatee won LSU a football game.
I don't know if he was the first to unearth, because the one thing people forget is the Coy Moore interview was old, right? I'm pretty sure this interview was done like before the season, or it was done like some time ago. But it is very interesting. Black Goatee, one of the many sharp LSU YouTube supporters of you and me. But yeah, Blake, I just love that stuff. And look, I have nothing against Coy Moore, but that it's just
I do. I never want to see a man suck on a popsicle like that ever again.
I forgot about
there was
that.
no pausing. Carter, for what it's worth, I did not expect. I logged off. I didn't get back on Twitter.
That one.
The entire day. The man was going to town. Black Goatee's odds for Heisman just rose from plus 3,500 to plus 1,600. Okay, Black Goatee. Up 2 more, and then let's get around the SEC. A couple questions for you there.
Yeah, go ahead,
man. Brian Kelly was interesting today in his press conference, and quite honestly, to me, it kind of felt like this is what I've always wanted here, in a sense. The way that this his presence and how he does things. I'm going to ask a very broad statement. Do you think that he can find a way, because of who he is and how he schemes up things? How critical is it that he will be on the sidelines this Saturday? Because in my gut, I don't know if you heard me say this, for whatever reason, feels like a Florida LSU last season, a Georgia LSU in 2018. Something just feels like, don't count out LSU. And talking to our buddies over at Bet Online and things like that, Carter, LSU's only plus 3.5, yeah. And I think the line's going to move to plus 3. What do you think that these guys are seeing? Is it the Brian Kelly factor? Like, what is the big reason, in your opinion, why LSU is only a dog, a plus 3 in this game?
Yeah, so you go back to Tennessee's game on the road versus Pitt earlier this year. A lot of fortunate things went in their favor. Like, Pitt's quarterback got hurt. A few other things.
Slovis went out, right?
Yeah. So a few other things happened in that game that got a little weird. And, Tennessee dialed up some very clutch blitzes. Their defense might not be that great, but they can be timely, right? They, their total yard numbers don't look great. Yard per play numbers are a little bit better. But they can get exotic, with their pressures, which is going to be, very interesting. I am a little shocked that number is there, right? I am a little shocked that number isn't closer to 5 to 6. And that's not me saying anti-LSU stuff. It's just what Tennessee offensively has done compared to what LSU offensively has done. The efficiency numbers are crazy. But you look at some of these other metrics, like EPA per play, still loves LSU. And EPA per play is one of the more like predictive stats that the analytics people use, right? They still love LSU offensively and defensively when it comes to EPA per play. And this being a true road game in Death Valley. It is interesting, though, Tennessee coming off a bye. I brought this up, on a live stream. I thought Tennessee would be 5.5, 6-point favorites after what we saw versus.
I thought there would be a touchdown favorite after this past week, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and trust me, Tennessee is a flawed team, but I think LSU was very, very fortunate to obviously win this game versus Auburn. We caught a lot of lucky breaks against Mississippi State. There hasn't been a game where LSU versus a Power 5 team has played a full 4-quarter game, or a game where you could say they dominated both the first and the second half, right? And that's tough, right? But LSU still has a bunch of talent. LSU, I still think, on a per player basis, is a more talented team than Tennessee. And, we'll see what happens. I think the LSU offensive line will have a bounce back game going up against a defensive line that's also experienced, but isn't as good as Auburn's. And we'll hopefully see LSU's offense protect a lot better.
That was my last LSU Tennessee question for you.
Yeah.
Their defense has a lot of holes in it.
Yeah.
And they're bad at tackling. I think their defensive line has a propensity to get pushed around. Do you think that LSU can get things going this weekend because of just how lackluster this Tennessee defense has been?
Yes. But I do think LSU needs to experiment with a few things, right? Like, here's one thing I would like to see is, it didn't seem like Dre really got anything going versus Auburn. I would be interested to see what the LSU offense looks like with certain players in and out of the lineup, right? What does LSU's wide receiver grouping look like if it's Malik, BTJ, and Jack, or Dre, Jack, and
are you saying, to rudely interrupt you, are you saying that you think they rotate a little too much?
They might, or what I would do is try different rotations, right? Now, that's not me saying, hey, so-and-so needs to get certain amount of touches, or so-and-so needs to get certain amount of snaps. I feel like LSU is a better team when Kayshawn's on the field, but let's see a series if when he's not, right? Let's see a series with him doing something different. Let's see a series where you're exclusively in 10 personnel, right? Just to see if something might be
14 personnel, like on the goal line.
Hey, look, I will say this: Stores, his few plays he was in, made some good blocks, made some really critical blocks.
He clapped some fools. His name is now Nick clapped some fools Stores.
I like the big 85, man. He's always had a lot of blocking talent. So I would like to see them experiment with a few things like that, and get some simple completions, like longer developing plays. Limit those. Let's get some quick things going and get the team in a rhythm. And if you do that, could be a good night for the LSU passing attack.
Last one. And I want to go around the SEC here with you. Just one question, though. Last one.
Yeah.
When you look at Alabama, it's a very long-winded question.
Yeah.
When you look at Alabama and Bryce Young going down, and you see that they insert Jalen Milroe and they absolutely obliterate Arkansas in the running game when they couldn't bust a grape to start off the game. when you see certain things that Jane Daniels can do, do you think that let me ask you this question, because I know Saban talked about this today. Do you think Saban is lying in reference to not having packages ready to go for Jalen Milroe? Because Carter, quite honestly, he is electric when he's got the ball in his hands. Does after what happened this week against Arkansas scare you? Maybe not even this season, but for the future, what you see in him in Alabama?
I mean, I will say it's hard for Alabama to get any better than they already are, right? Like, I mean, they win in so many different ways. I mean,
Carter, they ran for 275 yards in the second half or something crazy like that.
Their run game's really good. Their offensive line is obviously good. You know, Booker ended up being a really good true freshman pickup for them. Latham and those guys are playing better. They're just really good. And then, obviously Jahmyr Gibbs and those guys.
22.8 miles per hour.
It's unreal. It's unreal. And what's scary is Arkansas's, best player this year was an Alabama transfer, Drew Sanders. It's crazy just how much talent they have. And honestly, it was Saban mistakes, right? It was a very conservative punt on 4th and inches that allowed Arkansas to get back into the game. Obviously, some special teams errors allowed Arkansas to get back into the game. But, Alabama, to me, they were my number one team going into the year. That's not new
news.
It's not. Yeah, it's just same old. And it's honestly, I just don't think it's good for anybody, right? It's not any good that they're this good every single year. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to be competitive with them. Obviously, coming off a bye and Brian Kelly's coaching, maybe, we get them on a one-off situation, kind of like, last year. But, they're playing really well right now. And yeah, I mean, they are the clear-cut best team in the West, and hopefully that changes soon.
They're going to absolutely demolish A&M this weekend. They are going to, yes, because if Max can't go, and you got to go with Haynes King.
Let
me tell you something. They got to go to Weigman. Buddy, Haynes King isn't it. He's not it.
Yeah, it would have.
He goes here.
He does have that elbow.
Carter, I mean, it is the worst throwing. Carter, it's worse than Phillip Rivers. At least Phillip was here. It was a shorter sidearm motion. Carter, he is so. I mean,
got that? Yeah.
He's got the Hayuget from Street Fighter. Hayuget. I mean, it just. I don't.
Oh man, that's world class.
It is. I don't hate on the kid. He is. Carter, he can play slot receiver with the speed that he has. They clocked him last week. I saw this on PFF at like 20.8 miles per hour on a scramble. Haynes King.
Haynes King? I like it. Well,
the kid can run. Reverse Tannehill him. Reverse Tannehill. No, do the reverse. All right, Carter, I kept you here long enough. You got a fiance and dogs and, all that kind of stuff. I need to get you out of here. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. It's great, but obviously,
I would say that. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I will just say this: your film breakdowns, buddy, are insane. I mean, just the amount of detail that you go in and put into them, it's insane. I
appreciate that.
I would love, and I know you don't have more time, but this is
I got time. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the selfishness in me. I would love for you on your SEC channel to pick one SEC film breakdown to do. Now, maybe you're already doing this and I hadn't seen it. Are you already doing like an SEC film breakdown?
Man, I did one a little bit on Arkansas today, but not. I don't go like into detail like the LSU stuff.
All right. Well, what would be interesting is if you did Tennessee.
I'll do a Tennessee one. Here's the one thing about Tennessee that I like. Right. So I had an OC break this down. And for those that don't know that's never watched any of my film breakdowns,
he's an SEC offensive coordinator. Just give your source.
No. I'm lucky to know a few coaches that are
Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien's butt chin.
Bill O'Brien's my guy. Huh?
Bill O'Brien's butt chin. It's a
No,
butt chin in it.
Well, you want to know what's funny, Blake?
The
Is
chin.
no, I won't. You want to know what's interesting, Blake? Is like I am lucky to know coaches and scouts that know way more about this. All the terminology, robber, money, cloud, all these different terms that they know way more than I do, right? And they can, go into lectures about what all that stuff means, right? And I have an idea of what all that stuff means, right? But and that's actually just the basic stuff. It gets more into the detail. But what's really interesting about Tennessee and Heupel is they're actually simple, right? They
are simple with complex formations, correct?
Right. Like the Heupel's offense is very quarterback friendly, where Hendon Hooker doesn't like he can miss throws and there still be other options open. They do a really good job. And the thing is Hendon Hooker takes it to another level because he's taken it to another level.
Carter,
And
is it a form of an air raid without being called that?
yeah, it is like what they'll do is that they do such a good job of just generating space. And the best play callers do that. What I think, and to use an LSU spin on it, let's take the 2019 LSU offense, right? A lot of that offense was based around the players getting open, winning matchups, and all of that, right? Tennessee's offense, they have really good players. Don't get it twisted. But they do a good job of creating space for those players to operate, right? And I think, and that's just a very macro, it's not like very detailed breakdown of what they do. So if Tennessee fans don't crucify me for simplifying it, but that's what they do.
He said
right?
way down yonder on the Tattahoochee. It's harder than a hoochie coochie. That's
Alan
what they
Jackson, man. But yeah, it's just amazing how good they are at that. And that was part of the reason why I liked them so much going in, to this year is that, I just fell in love with Heupel's coaching style. And I just liked him a lot. I wasn't like when he was hired, I was like, okay, who's this guy from UCF? And, you start watching more of Tennessee and you're like, wow, this offense is a lot of fun to watch. So number one, I'm jealous of everybody that's getting to go to the game. You're getting to see, a quarterback who's going to be playing on Sundays, and Hendon Hooker, and you're going to see hopefully a really good offense getting shut down in Tiger Stadium.
The Smoky Grays are getting clapped. That's all I'm saying. Carter,
see you,
let's
buddy.
let's go watch some Monday Night Football. All right.
See
you, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Cheers.
Right. Carter the Power Bryant. All right. One last break, and then we're going to get out of here. Let me talk about my good friends over at Fry Construction. FryConstruction.com. If I can find it, here it is. If you have site work and land development, oil and gas services, commercial, construction, aggregate, and soil hauling, waste containers, demolition, they do it all. Go see them at 161 West Maple in Eunice, Louisiana, or give them a call at 337-457-5100. That is 337-457-5100. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right. We did have the Saints in the SEC. I am going to push that until tomorrow so we can go ahead and get on out here and watch some ESPN, some Manning cast maybe. If they're even doing it, I don't even know. But until then, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.